everybody, it is the Lawn Gnome and welcome back to another episode of Out of the Vault. If you are new, let me just say thank you. It is a pleasure to have you, and for all of you returning, I just want to say I'm glad that I'm finally here for this specific discussion today, because this was something that was supposed to happen back in 2024, but if you remember in previous videos, there was a reason why I wasn't able to go see the 63rd Disney animated classic Moana 2 in theaters back in 2024. So all I'm going to say is I'm glad that you guys remained patient, and good things come to those who wait. But do they really? Wow, I feel like I'm on an episode of Gutfeld for some reason. Anyway, so yes, I was a little upset that I didn't get to see this movie in theaters because I had seen the last couple of Disney animated classics in theaters, and some of them were great and some of them were not so great. But regardless, it's always great to sit down and watch a Disney animated classic on the big screen. And of course, as time was going by, anticipating this movie to show up on Disney Plus, which is where I got the chance to finally see it, I had been hearing what people were thinking about it. They were saying that it really wasn't worth the theater-going experience, that it really didn't come off as a great movie as opposed to the original, and a couple of other things floating around saying that this was actually supposed to be the Disney Plus series that was actually canceled, and they turned it into a big budget film for theaters for the purposes of trying to get some more money. So, you know what, I just listened to everything and I didn't really voice my opinions, but the overall feeling towards Moana 2 was not entirely positive. So when it finally showed up on Disney Plus and I had the chance to watch it, I had a feeling that that was what I was going to get. I mean, of course, you got Lori Cavallo back, and you got Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson reprising their roles of Moana and Maui. You had other great characters like Pua and Heihei showing up again. You also were introduced to Moana's little sister and Moana's new adventure, which was to adventure out to the oceans for the purposes of finding other explorers and other people just like them, for the purposes of allowing their people to gain knowledge and flourish. And that's not a bad premise for a follow-up to a very popular film, but there were also a lot of things that were taken away from this movie, and one of the biggest things that was not included in this film is the fact that the songs were not made by Lin-Manuel Miranda. And with that in mind, not necessarily my absolute drag down of the film, but take that into account along with what all the people who had seen Moana 2 were saying, and then finally seeing it for myself, I have to agree. This could have been so much better, and Disney truly squandered the opportunity. I mean, this movie did make a decent amount of money, and it was in the theaters for quite some time, but that's just because of the fact that this is a film that young children want to see. People who are older and Disney faithful, who have been seeing Disney classics for decades, are not going to have that kind of enthusiasm as young children because they don't really know the history of Disney at a younger age, and if these are characters that they love, they'll see them whether they're good or bad. I mean, look, there were so many times where I dragged my parents to see absolutely terrible films, but I saw them when I was 7, 8, 9 years old. I didn't know what makes a truly great movie, so of course, when I was a young kid, I thought that every movie that I saw was absolutely awesome. And then revisiting a lot of these movies, I have to always go to my parents and apologize because I made them see this movie with me, and I was truly sorry. Now, that's not the feeling I would get from Moana 2. I want to make that clear. There are some moments in this movie that are truly enjoyable. I mean, there are some great comedic moments. It's nice to see other characters introduced because most of the first film was just Moana and Maui and Heihei, so the fact that we got to see other characters was really, really cool. And even some characters that were long gone, it was nice to see them again. but this time it involves Moana while exploring, finding out that there is a curse that's keeping all the people separated due to an angry god who is truly terrified of the human race because the humans will gain the knowledge to make gods feel insignificant. I mean, that's not even a story that has never been told. That is a very common story about gods and demigods and whatnot. But the movie, I felt, was very sloppy. There were some moments that were just not interesting. I thought that the movie, for some strange reason, did at times feel a little rushed. I thought that it was absolutely poorly done about introducing this brand new powerful god to never see him, and then you get that post-credit scene, which finally shows this character and basically says, yeah, we have the ability to make Moana 3. I don't know if the public is going to want it after this film, because it's okay. I've seen worse. I want to make that absolutely clear. I've seen worse, but this movie is definitely not one of those truly coveted, treasured Disney classics, even though it follows up a really great Disney film. So, to a certain degree, I'm very happy that I skipped it in theaters because I would have walked out of that movie very unsatisfied. I mean, I didn't feel that way when I went to see Wish. I actually enjoyed Wish more than I thought I would, but there's a lot of people that feel differently. And the funny thing is, I haven't seen Wish since it came out in theaters, and I do have it, so I think I really do need to rewatch that movie. But Moana 2 was a movie that wasn't necessarily needed. And this movie should have just remained a Disney Plus show, I think. You still would have gotten a good, enjoyable experience on the small screen, but this was not needed to be on the big screen. And it was there because Disney's in trouble. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, I'm here to talk about the magic of Disney, and every single time I sit down, I always talk about how they are losing their direction and not being the powerful entertainment company that they used to be, especially during the Renaissance and even during the Neo-Renaissance period that we technically are still in right now, but then again, we may not be there anymore. I don't really know what era of Disney we are in at this moment, but at the end, I'm glad I saw this movie. I'm still very much a completionist, but this was not as good as I wanted it to be. I really do not want to see this movie again. I do not want to get this movie on DVD or Blu-ray, and that's a darn shame, because when it comes to sequel films, you want to have them in your collections. I mean, I love The Rescuers Down Under, I love Ralph Breaks the Internet, just to name a few, and I'm just hoping and praying that the next movie, which I believe is Zootopia 2, I know they got Jennifer Goodwin and they got Jason Bateman back, so I'm just hoping that the team that put that ingenious movie together, which ironically came out the exact same year as Moana, and it still took home all the accolades as opposed to Moana, which a lot of people enjoyed. But I just hope that Disney continues to hopefully learn from their mistakes. I don't know if they're learning from their mistakes because they keep giving us subpar films these days. So every single time one of those comes out and it hurts them, I just hope that someone in that company is saying we've got to get back to basics and we've got to do what we used to get the people in the theaters and give them truly great movies. Moana 2 is not one of them, which is why I'm going to be giving Moana 2 2 stars. Like I said, it's not the worst movie I've seen. It has its moments. I could give it a worse review, but I just don't think it needs to have a terrible review because it's not a horrible Disney classic, and I've seen those. And I don't think that it is on the level of, let's say, a Chicken Little or a Home on the Range, which got like anywhere from 1 star to even less to 1.5. I just don't think that this is a below 2-star film. I do not. Let me know what your thoughts are about this movie. I'd love to hear if any of you out there saw Moana 2 and what you thought of it. I mean, I'd love to have a discussion. I mean, is there something I may have missed? But thank you very much for watching. And please subscribe and hit that notification bell. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys for the next episode of Out of the Vault. Take care. If you enjoyed the video you just watched, feel free to leave a comment. Also, feel free to subscribe if you want to be up to date with our latest videos. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you in the next one. Actions speak louder than words.